So after 1 year of studying architecture, I assume that I know already what negative aspects there are of studying this kind of studies. And in this video, I just want to show my negative experiences maybe that I had, and yeah, let's start with the video. If you're ever considering studying architecture, like good for that too, you just know what you can expect of this, because it's most of the cases like this, and no matter where you study, in which country, it will always be very similar. If I start with the video with cons about architecture, it doesn't mean that I don't like my studies. I love them. I really like, and I couldn't imagine doing any other studies, to be honest. But I just like to be realistic, and there are things that really annoy me sometimes. But in every study, nothing is perfect at all, and this is also the case in architecture. So yeah. So the first one is that you can't really divide your studying time and your free time, because, you know, especially with design and all that stuff, you cannot really say you can't really say when the creative flow will come, when will you have like motivation to draw something or to have ideas. And this is really difficult for me sometimes to find that work and life balance in that sense, because both worlds, I would say, merge together or blend together. This is sometimes very difficult, and if you don't like this, it's maybe kind of an issue, but I don't really care about this. It's sometimes a bit annoying, but I can live with that. So the second point is you will never get like a clear yes or no answer. And in the first year I had a big problem with that, because imagine you just creating something, you're making a design or a sketch, even just something, and you just ask for advice. You ask, is it good or not? And when the assistants don't say anything, or it's not constructive, you're just feeling like really dumb, and you just not know what to do. And this was something I really hated, and it's still a little bit like this, but I think it's getting better, because of the fact that when you're more experienced in this, you already know what to change or what to how to work with things that you have. And yeah, I had a really problem with that, and you can imagine that it's not that easy to be very confident in the work you do when you don't know if the people that will give you grades like your work or not. The next thing is that you cannot really plan things in advance. Like when you're meeting friends or something, you can set yourself those times when you do that, but in general there are days where you just can't really plan anything. It's very spontaneous sometimes, especially if you have some tutorials or things like that. You don't ever know how long it's going to take. You never know that. Mostly it takes a lot more time than planned. And yeah, I had the moments that I wanted to go somewhere in the evening, and it just couldn't, because my critics or my tutorials were much longer than I thought. I don't have a big problem with that, but sometimes if I know I want to go somewhere, then you can imagine it's not that great. The fourth point here is that you are subjected to a lot of pressure. Firstly, because you just have to deliver things the whole time, and the second thing is that there are so many people there that are also better than you, and there will always be people that are better than you, and you just have to show that you are you're worth it, and you have to show that, or you have to show your abilities to the assistants or your professors. And yeah, it's just sometimes really difficult to handle that, because you have the pressure that is put on you, and I'm a person that is making my own pressure on myself. Yeah, it's not helping, but this is really something that you have to be able to handle by yourself, or with the help of others, of course. But this is something really important to have in mind if you ever consider studying architecture. The fifth point is that a lot of work doesn't always equal a good result or a good grade or some things like that, because there are things that can be really simple and really easy to do, but what is important mostly is the concept or the idea you have behind this. And you just have to put that into a drawing, into a model, into something that just represents your idea. And it doesn't have to be very complicated and complex or difficult to do or time consuming. So sometimes you just have to have the ability to know what to do in what extent, and this is sometimes not that easy, to be honest. So the sixth point is it's like really special for this time, because now we have again most of the things online, and you can imagine we have like a group project, and this is really difficult sometimes to do per Zoom. And in general, if you have a design or a project to do and you cannot exchange your ideas in a bubble or in a studio, it's really difficult, because you don't have the idea what others do, and you cannot take inspirations from them, and vice versa. And this is something that I really lacked also last semester. This was really difficult also to maintain the consistency, the motivation to do something at all. Because when you don't talk with other people and you don't see that they are doing something, you're probably not doing something by yourself. And sitting in your own room here at the desk and just drawing the things I do and doing the models is not that much of a fun in comparison to last year, the first semester, when you're in the studio, you have other people, you talk with them sometimes, not too much because you have to work, but you just talk with them, and sometimes you go to lunch together, and I think it's really great. And this is something I really hate in this time, but it's really specific for the pandemic. Another point that I don't like really, or is even upsetting for me, is that you can imagine studying architecture is not really sustainable or eco-friendly, because you have to print, like now not really, but in general you have to print your work, and mostly it's like, you go to the plotter and you make like this big sheets of paper, and sometimes you just print them for a short amount of time, and then what do you do with them? And this is I don't really like that point, or that aspect of architecture. And also doing the models and all that stuff, you just have to use material. You use cardboard. Cardboard can be recycled, but still there are things that are really wasteful. And for example, last year we had like a seminar week about 3D modeling and 3D printing, and you can imagine we used like PLAs, plastic, and what did we do with all this stuff? We just put them into the bin. And this is something that I really don't like. And I think we as architecture students, or as architects in general, have to think about these things more, and just maybe change some things, because there are some possibilities to do this more sustainable, or with more sustainable materials. And I just think this is a part of architecture that can be developed even more. And the last point here is the horror of all the presentations, panel critics and all the stuff. And yeah, I may say I have a little bit of experience already, but it will still maintain something that is really stressing you, and you always want to do your best, you know. The presentation is really important. How you present this will affect your project. Yeah, this is something important, and I will never say that I'm good in presentations or talking to people, and this will always be something that I'm horrified of. But I think with time, things like that get better because you do this more and more, and then I think it gets better, but I will see. I hope so. Make sure you stay tuned for my next videos. I will make a video about the pros of studying architecture for sure, and also about the panel critics, so make sure you subscribe to my channel to don't miss out on that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, and stay safe.